All right, I do believe we're live now. Yes, and when in doubt, blame the weasel. Hey, everybody, welcome to Bad Science Sunday, your home for the worst science on the internet. And again, for anyone who has any question about why we're here, yes, we do take a comedic approach at deconstructing the worst science on the internet. And this is kind of where we all come to kind of laugh, enjoy ourselves, get the stench of the entire week out of the way, and, get bright, fresh, new for what's upcoming into the new week. And this week, by popular demand, we have uh, Jackson Wheat. Yay! Yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
By popular demand, people were demanding my
Yeah.
presence.
You're very
You were,
popular.
yeah, you actually were by popular demand. I was, I don't know, just doing what I do, fucking off in the side chat, and which is what I do best. And
It, it's how you live, Maya.
I don't know if you remember this. It was about 2 months ago, maybe. People were like, "Oh my God, you got to have Jackson on Bad Science Sunday," and you were like, "What's Bad Science Sunday? Who's Maya? What's happening?"
I'm sorry. I I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be on the show. I I'm we have interacted. Let's see. We've interacted on Twitter and Discord, and it is totally my fault that it took this long. I bear all responsibility for that,
You're
because
fine.
I only get on Discord to do Dapper's show, which is literally once a month, and so
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's my fault for that. I have interacted with Dr. Tapioca Weasel before a few times. Yeah, I think you usually do like Dapper stuff, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tapioca Weasel and I are both mods on Dapper Dinosaurs channel,
yeah,
and
big
Yeah,
supporters of Dapper. Yeah.
yeah.
oh yeah, big supporter. Like I was one of Dapper's first Patreons. I was there,
Okay,
uh, yeah, I was there before he entered three digits in subs. So
nice.
we go way back.
You're deep in the lore, then, huh?
Yes, yes, and oh, wait a minute. Lieutenant Jedi gifted us 10 cultists. So
Use oh,
welcome back, Alex Markle, Katrina Peck Bias, Spooky Bedhair, Jeff C., Triceratops, and John Hudson, Carol Kinzer, Carrie Chrysler, and Palm Dad. Hey, welcome, welcome. So, all right. So I am the goddess, and this is my Grand Weasel Master. Yeah, he leads the cult. So this is the Weasel cult.
to be clear, hold on, Maya.
Yes, yes. You want
I'm
to give
trying to
your
pay reparations, okay? You can't call me master.
grand? Oh, right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, part of our lore, in case you don't know, Tapioca's ancestors were slave owners, and my ancestors were slaves. So obviously, his great great grandfather used to own my great great grandfather. He now owes me millions in reparations, which he gives me periodically through uh, what do
Oh,
you call it? What do you call it?
Memberships?
Memberships
Cultists?
and this thing here. What is he doing? I
Super
can't think.
chats?
Super
Maya,
chats. Thank you. No, it's too late. All right. So
I
Jake's talking. Shut up. Shut up. Jake's talking now. Jake for $10 says this episode is so meta for me. I once truly to start the
I
internet
think
rumor.
tried. I think it's supposed to be tried.
Tried to start the internet rumor that Jackson Wheat is Hans Wormhat, executing the most epic troll ever. Hashtags birds aren't real. Oh, that is. I like it. I like it a
I
lot.
I had not heard of this person. At least I don't believe. I've run into a lot of people over the 8 years I've been doing this, and I don't believe I've heard of this person before this week. So
Hans, really?
I don't
Who
believe so. I could be
who's
wrong, but
who is the big one that does? Is it Sir Sick that does a lot of Hans?
I think Sir Sick does Hans. I don't think Logic does Hans.
Yeah,
Um,
I was thinking it was Logic or Sir Sick. I watched them both a
Sursic
lot,
has
but I know Sir Sick does them a lot too.
Sursic does not. Sursic standards are about as high as our standards.
This is
Um,
true.
and I'm unaware of anybody with lower standards. So
I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched Logic, but the last thing I remember watching of his
Almondo.
was some guy who had like a
Uh,
was using, I think it was like Google Earth, and just looking at like random geographic
yeah,
features in Africa, and was concluding that like they were dragon remains or something like that.
that sounds like Roger.
Oh, Roger.
And I was just kind
I
of
don't know if it is.
It's got to
like,
be Roger.
okay, I think
Dapper
do it.
Dapper's done Roger. Roger's well known. Dapper has done
Oh.
done a few Rogers stream. I don't know if he's done like any live streams, like any Kent with Bent or Jackson with Jackson type of things.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But if you're not familiar in our audience, one, there's nobody in our audience who's not familiar with our wonderful guest Jackson Wheat. But by the way, we didn't actually say it. Who are you and where are you? Because we have different
Well,
audiences.
yeah, we have different audiences. So
Ah,
I asked for
okay.
the elevator pitch up front, just
Oh,
for the people struggling to stay awake but want to watch the first 20 minutes. Let them know where to find you because you do stream earlier than us.
yeah. So I'm Jackson. Hello. I run a YouTube channel by the name of, wait for it, Jackson Wheat, because I'm not cool. I don't have cool name or whatever, a stage name or what have you. I'm just me. My channel, my scripted videos are right now. They're all about zoology. I do zoology, evolutionary biology, all that fun stuff. I do anti-creationism stuff as a hobby. Um, my hope is to get away from that in the near future. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, if you, I do the live streams as you mentioned. Those are on Thursday at 7 Central Time. So yeah, I'm doing this for, like I said, 8 years now. It's kind of bananas.
8 years. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, holy crap, that's insane to me.
When I first started college in 2016, that
Wow.
was my roommate at the time convinced me to start a YouTube channel. Yes, and I co-authored a book with RJ Downard, who also has his own channel. It was The Rocks Were There, Volume 1. We're working on
woo.
Volume 2. That book is the most comprehensive creationism refuting book in existence, and we're working on the second one. So I think
Very
my
comprehensive.
my pitch to myself is, but no one believes me, is like, once we finish that, I feel like I can, like, on my own personal channel, I won't need to rebut creationism anymore. I can be like, I've put in my time, I've done my due diligence. I think I can, do something else. And I have other ideas. I don't want to stop my channel by any means. There are other
Well, you're
directions
doing
I want to go.
right. One of the things you're doing right now is a series going through the Ancestor's Tale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Yeah,
going.
so chapter by chapter, yeah, we're doing a deep dive on all that, looking at, um it's not, and you might think like, oh, we're not just, filleting Dawkins and Wong. We're actually looking at what they said, because their book came out in 2016, which was, 8 years ago. So we're looking at what they said then. Is that true today? Is it still true? Is there research that's come out that has overturned that? Actually, the Cro-Magnon's tale, which oddly enough is like the most popular uh, video in the series so far, was about us looking at, so we looked at the Cro-Magnon's tale, which Cro-Magnon is a very silly word, but whatever.
Yeah,
And
that's not a real alternate pronunciation, is it? Or
is
is
it?
it?
I mean, because
Does anybody non-humorously just use that pronunciation that
I
didn't just hear you or somebody else using it humorously and got confused?
is it not? I mean, because it's meant.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
I've honestly, so I don't know. I've always heard people say Cro-Magnon, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
it's
me
a
too.
French word, isn't it? Crow. At any rate, at any
It's
rate,
hilarious either way.
it's a silly
It's
it's
like
a silly word.
Tarjay.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, it's a silly word because it refers to it basically refers to any humans who live between. Sorry, any like what Eurasian is it Eurasian? No. Well, okay. I guess it's basically any humans who live between like 60,000 and 10,000 years ago, or sorry, 12,000 years ago. So 10,000 BC. So it's basically from when humans left, when Homo sapiens left Africa to when the Holocene started, and it's like that's an incredibly arbitrary distinction. There's no like it's silly, but uh, but we talked about so Dawkins and Wong were proponents of the like they ascribe it to like Jared Diamond, the hypothesis that there was like this great cultural leap, like humans underwent this major cultural leap, and that's where like language and culture and everything come from. I don't think that's really true, at least from the anthropology that I've seen. It seems more that it was way more gradual. Like you have a few cultural, I don't know, a few cultural artifacts like here and there, like a few 100,000 years ago. Then you kind of see like a flowering outward of cultural artifacts, and what exactly is the meaning of the term like behavioral modernity. If you ask different anthropologists, you get different ideas because like does it relate to this set of tools or this set of tools or this set what does that all mean? So we disagree with them in that one. The most recent one was the ragworm's tale, where we also disagreed with them on so they argue that the common ancestor of like most bilaterally symmetrical animals would have been like they argue that kind of the Nephrozoan. So the common ancestor of most bilaterally symmetrical animals was like a kind of like a ragworm, which is a type of worm with little bristles coming off of it. That may be true. It's hard to say because there's a really big debate as to the actual topology of the relatedness among most major bilaterian clades. So we were like, maybe. Sorry.
You're fine. So we were kind of blowing Jackson's mind a little bit before the stream with the hands
That's one way of putting it.
Hans.
Yeah.
And we
Clever
do need
Hans.
to. So Hans is not PC, and
Yeah.
he uses some non-PC terms a couple of times. If it gets too much, just at me and we'll switch videos. But um, again, we've been through this. These are people who are everybody we show here. We've seen actively supporting Trump, holding prayer visuals, um, denigrating about every group in here in some way, shape, or form. And we try to play the best videos for you. And we also try to play a video that is going to showcase the
The
knowledge of
opinions.
the guest the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that too.
So the opinions of the people that we showcase obviously are not our own. We are here to debunk them and denounce them usually. So
Oh, can I say something?
absolutely.
Okay, so the name Cro-Magnon comes from the five skeletons discovered by French paleontologist Louis Lartet in 1868 at the
Oh,
Cro-Magnon rock shelter. And
that's totally French. The
not going to try to
correct
pronounce it.
pronunciation is in fact Cro-Magnon. I'm convinced of
Here
it
it
now.
is. Found it. Magnon. Okay. I stand vindicated, or I sit vindicated, I guess.
That's amazing.
Oh, wait a minute. Did
I
I
see
miss?
a
Oh, I missed
I see
something.
a totally blank screen here on my EV Mux. I don't know if other people do.
Oh,
Seriously?
I see the Venus flytraps.
I see the.
Fantastic. And never
I do
mind.
too. But you're
Sorry,
kind of the one
sorry.
that needs to see, though, right?
I am the one that needs to see, which is why I'm kind of okay. I figured out a. No, I didn't. I did not figure out a workaround. Hold on. I would do a tap dance, but I'm also the one that's like trying to like do the thing, and it's not working. And why is it not working?
All right, for $5, Jake Nelson says, if you don't watch Jackson Channel, you're interneting wrong.
It's
Oh,
true. Can confirm.
all right. So the weasel is going to leave and come back. Oh, he is back. All right. Can you see yourself?
No, I cannot see anything on the EVMUX screen. We're going to go ahead and proceed regardless.
Holy shit. Are you going to be able to do that?
I will just. Yes, it'll be fine. And if not, then we might have to awkwardly pause and suddenly figure something out later. But for now, we're not going to keep on waiting because we got Hans to get to and
Yeah.
his Venus flytraps.
All right.
Oh, this beautiful, beautiful man.
And I will see if I can figure
This is a
something
video
else
on
out just in case. Um, so yeah, Hans actually has not grown at all. He's still sitting at 8.69 thousand subscribers. So he hasn't. He's been at eight something the entire time, which is abnormal. I would think that most of our other people grow by at least 10,000 every time we watch them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. 8.69, I mean, nice, but like still not a whole lot. Although 3.2K views, not terrible given
Not
that.
terrible. Yeah.
Um
Great show.
Honestly though, he it's stunning he doesn't have more. And that's cuz this guy is like a train wreck. It just everything
Actually,
about him.
I know he uses trans slurs in here, but he actually has weird trans views, and I can't remember what they are, where he doesn't respect them, but he does affirm them. So it's just weird. So I think he's lost some people because of that.
Oh
But
no.
he does. Yeah, he's.
Not him losing subscribers, anything like
I
that.
know. I know.
Yeah.
Evolution and how evolution is fake. It's a tranny land
Uh-huh.
That's what we were talking about.
deception, and a big one. It's along the same lines of the ball Earth deception.
So what we're encountering here is obviously the highest of the high tier of intellectual juggernauts, right?
And Big Bang, which is 33. Big Bang Theory.
Can anybody explain that to me? Big Bang is 33.
I was going to ask you that. You're like the grand weasel of flat Earth. Like,
Yeah, but not of random numerology though, right? So like,
Wait, they don't talk about the 33 and the, I don't know, the flat Earth Reddit, 4chan. Where do you hang out?
YouTube, Maya. I hang out on YouTube with you.
I do not. Nobody I know subscribes to the flat Earth model. 0 people.
Oh, well, that's not true for me. I have a few friends who are flat earthers. So.
Flat friend earthers.
Yeah.
What they want you to believe is that order arose.
I'm just saying that bee or wasp or whatever right there just got totally destroyed. Like, look
He
at
sure
this.
did.
Big Bang Theory. What they want you to believe is that order arose
shaboom.
out of chaos.
Got him. It's true.
Yep.
We want you to believe that.
Yeah.
That is pretty wild. Venus flytraps are whack. There are lots of Venus flytraps. One of those things that like well, I guess not so much anymore, but like creationists used to talk about them more because like it's cool, right? I mean, they're objectively cool. They are plants that eat organisms. That's pretty whack. And you know, of course, they'll throw out the irreducible complexity, like, there's no way that this could have evolved. It had to have all of the, you know, particular stress hormones and all the enzymes and everything, to all the you know, mechanisms by which it closes its trap all together, or else it couldn't have possibly like evolved, or, you know, it wouldn't work. And it's like, no, that's not true. That just factually isn't accurate. There's like a huge range of different means by which plants collect prey. The simplest one of which is you just have a leaf that just has a sticky substance on it. That's exactly what Pinguicula kanzati does, which is one of those like if you're in like the plant hobby, they call them Mexican pings. They're just little plants, and they just have sticky leaves, and sometimes like a little mosquito or something will just land on it and can't get away, and then they start secreting enzymes and slowly break it down, and like that's all you need. You don't need anything more than that to catch insects. It's super easy. Obviously, like Venus flytrap. I mean, it's the same for pitcher plants, right? Pitcher plant is just a tube. It's literally just a leaf. Like it's this long leaf, and then it like becomes a tube. Or some of them do.
Well, aren't the pitcher plants the ones that have like they have like the bulbous sort of lip around it?
Yes,
that's super slippery, and everything falls off of it, and that's crazy to me because like ants, if it's too slippery for like an ant, like what is it like? How do you even do that?
Super slick. Yeah, and like what you also have to remember at the end of the day is like these things. Many of these evolved in environments where they had very poor nutrient soil, right? Like they are still capable of doing photosynthesis and extracting nutrients from the soil. I mean, look, they're green. They can still do photosynthesis, but they are supplementing the glucose that they get from photosynthesis, the nutrients that they get from the soil by capturing insects. So this is like it's all these things together. It's not just if they didn't do this, they would die. Like, it's not really true.
Yeah. So a Venus flytraps, if you buy one and take care of it and put it in a nice area with sun and everything, but you don't feed it, will it die necessarily?
I'm pretty sure it's a no. I'm pretty sure you don't necessarily have to. I'm pretty sure you don't necessarily have to feed them. Like this is
That's
supplemental. If you provide them with like phosphorus and nitrogen and things like that in the soil.
Yeah. And so the way they probably evolved was that like they had something on them that like at least some versions of it. I don't know if this works for a Venus flytrap. Like if they made like a toxin that like killed animals and then they like fell and rotted and like died there, then like eventually you get like the nutrients into the soil. Is that like a plausible way of evolution or?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out if I was like curious about your.
I do the
question.
same thing all the time.
Yeah, this says I'm kind of getting mixed answers, but it seems that they can go at least a few months without eating insects, at the very least. Now, what was your question one more time?
My question was, could carnivorous plants have begun their evolution by having some mutation that produced a toxin that killed insects that then rotted near the base of the plant and thereby like bled the nutrients and whatnot from the decomposition into the soil?
I'm not hugely familiar with the like precise evolutionary mechanisms by which carnivorous plants arose. I'm not entirely sure. I would say probably not the soil, because it seems like all carnivorous plants like digest things on their leaves.
They do now, yeah.
Yeah, or it's like everything from like Mexican pings to pitcher plants and Venus flytraps, everything trap stuff on its leaves. So that's why they're like doing the secretion of like the sticky molecules and the enzymes and stuff. So that's I would say it's probably because like all the hormones and the enzymes and everything that do these jobs, like these are already in plants. It's more like they're localizing them and like increasing by many factors the like amount of which they actually produce.
What about like developing the ability for a leaf to absorb like nutrients from like feces, from animal feces or something that dropped onto it? Is that
I mean, potentially. I mean, I'm not an expert on this particular group of plants.
You're more of an expert than either of us are.
I TA'd a botany lab, and sadly, we never really talk about because you're just trying to like explain the basics of plants, and so we really never discuss with the class like the carnivorous plants. Sadly, it's really just, do you know what a flower is? Do you know all the parts of the flower? That sort of stuff. So
my understanding is flowers are just horny plants.
I mean, it's just the sexual organs, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's one of
Okay,
their
real quick, real
big.
quick. All right, so I do want to thank Left-Handed Jedi, who's become a member for 3 months. Thank you, thank you. Also, Jester Lord of Fools is also a member for 3 months. Jester also contributed $2 and says, "I'm 33. When I bang, it can theoretically get big."
I'm so confused though. Big Bang. One of those words has 3 letters. The other one has 4 letters, and B is the second letter of the alphabet, not the third. I'm so lost.
Big.
I think we were talking about the 33 from earlier.
That's what I was also. Yeah, I was trying to get back to that by
Oh,
saying
okay.
like Big Bang. If it was Big Bang, at least then you've got 3 letters and 3 letters, right? But
But we still don't know what they're talking about. I mean, they might think that B, they might be so stupid they think B is the third level letter of the alphabet. And so it's just,
that's very possible with Hans.
I don't know what you would call it. But it's just a big thing. It's a big lie that they push because it's the opposite of truth. And they want you to think that everything came to being just completely random, totally chaotic,
True.
just out of
That
nowhere.
is definitely what I tell people.
Is that what you tell people, Jackson? Do you tell people
Yes.
that biological evolution is the story of completely random events happening with no rhyme or reason?
well,
I
yeah.
mean, of
What do you tell
course,
people?
obviously. I don't tell them anything about like natural selection or sexual selection and things like that. These processes that are by definition non-random. Like I don't tell them. I kind of keep that a secret. And when I see like science researchers or science communicators who start talking about that, I kind of go like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
yeah. I like
It's like they're nodding on the grift or something.
yeah, exactly. I mean, but like in reality, like the argument that evolution is like random or whatever is it just kind of belies just a fundamental lack of understanding of what evolution is. Now you could say certain parts of evolution are random. I think it's preferable to say like stochastic or probabilistic, but like there are elements that are random, right? So for instance, like which sperm cell is going to hit the egg and it carrying like which particular collection of alleles. Like okay, that there's a randomness in that process. If you throw your like your spores to the wind, there's a bit of randomness in that process. Things like that. Okay, so those are like random quote unquote processes that are that factor into evolution. Mutations are another random quote quote thing. But like whatever randomness there is at that level, it then gets filtered through natural and sexual selection, or one or the other or both. And then those are definitely non-random processes. So if a particular mutation like negatively impacts your ability to like make all your normal proteins, well, you might not survive to reproductive age, and even if you do, you might not find a mate, and so you're less likely to leave behind offspring who also had those mutations. So that's non-random, right? That's definitionally non-random. Same for sexual selection. If you have a mutation that affects like the colors in your bright, beautiful peacock train, and then females are kind of like, oh, I don't really like that guy. He looks weird. Then, well, you're not going to have any offspring. You're not going to pass on those mutations to your offspring. So yeah, I mean that's. So it's just yeah.
Okay,
So
so
for real quick, for $5, Savage Cobra says, "Can you confirm that flowering plants run faster than non-flowering plants?"
Yes, this is a reference to a comment that Dapper and I were talking about. I think it was on Bad Jackson the other day, where because there are different ways that creationists like to argue that the fossil record is arranged by the Noah's flood, and both of them don't work. So the first one is like the hydrologic sorting. So basically, everything's in the water at once, and the water sorts things according to like size or density or whatever or surface area. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. If you look at the distribution of organisms in the fossil record, there's no evidentiary support for that idea. The other one is organisms are arranged by their environment. I mean, you could also throw in things like some animals are smarter, like mammals are smarter, so they're able to run uphill, when they saw the waters coming, which is hilarious, whatever.
But not
And,
plants.
yeah, exactly. And so you get to plants, and it's like, well, then why don't we find flowers, in lower strata? Well, you see, the magnolias like uprooted themselves and ran uphill. That's exactly what happened. So, yeah. Yeah.
Cutting edge science. Thank you.
When in fact, everything that you see around you was created by God and was
of
very
course.
purposeful. So it's just an inversion. And for me lately, I've been kind of interested in
Oh, wait, we did do
carnivorous plants, especially the active ones, the ones that exhibit quick movement. It's
Wait,
not a
isn't that
normal thing.
interesting? Isn't it interesting though? He specifies the active ones because there are like non-active ones, and as someone pointed out in the chat, I just saw it. Someone pointed out. Do what?
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Someone pointed out. Oh, there was a comment that I thought was really good. Oh, well, don't know who I'm talking about. So like the as we mentioned earlier, there are carnivorous plants that don't like move at all. Their leaves make no movements, like the Mexican pinks. They don't make any movement. They have the same enzymes, the same hormones, and everything that like all other angiosperms do. They're just localizing them to particular regions of their body, whatever you want to call it, and they are expressing them in much greater quantities. Like that's evolution, right? You have mutations that localize certain metabolic products or enzymes or whatever to certain regions. Like that, the change in the distribution of your biological, products. That's evolution, and then you pass that on to offspring, and then they survive better on average, and then they pass it on to their offspring, and so on and so on, and then like all plants, or maybe not all plants, a lot of plants move. Darwin pointed out that and I guess you could say he was kind of technically incorrect with this, but plants. He pointed out plants move as much as animals. They just do it, on a longer time scale, which is kind of technically defeats like the concept of movement, but whatever. Like vines, if you look at vines, they like wrap around things. Plants grow outward. Some plants they'll creep along the forest floor and stuff. So plants move in a sense. They exhibit movement. It just takes a long time. And so this is just, again, doing a thing plants already do and just speeding it up.
Sunflowers throughout the
really
day.
quick. So you can see everything now, right?
Now I can see things again. Yes.
So yeah, God miraculously gave back the good doctor back his sight, so he can see what we're doing. I'm sorry. Something sunflowers.
The sunflowers. Sunflowers. One of the reasons they're named sunflowers. There's two, I think. One is they kind of look like a big yellow flower, and it's the sun. And the other is that they face the sun and they follow it throughout the day, and then like droop down and like start over. They're like solar panels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the plant kingdom.
Oh, real quick.
For either of those things.
We had a question, and I told everybody I don't want them to have to pay for answers to the questions. Do we have trace fossils of angiosperm migrations?
Sadly, not yet. Maybe one day.
What does that mean? What is an angiosperm migration?
Because the magnolias run uphill. So
I'm sorry.
It's so funny to me because like if you've never been to like a beach, like do you see how many grasses are along the beach? You think none of the grasses got buried like when the floodwaters came over the beach? None of them? That's insane.
None of them.
Nope.
None of them.
Not one.
For $2, Left-Handed Jedi says, it's a miracle! Dr. Tapioca Weasel can see.
I am a god amongst weasels.
Things for a plant to be carnivorous or to have active movement. There's more than one variety of this. How is this supposed to come out of random mutations?
Real quick. Cheers to Fern, who just became a member. I'm sorry, a cultist. Please enjoy your nitties and your vaginas.
Weasel cult?
Such a complex system, the sticky dewdrops on the hairs and the moving mechanism.
Again,
Where's the
things that already
fossil
existed. Things that already existed. All this, obviously, the precursors for these systems, existed prior to them, extrapolating them to this extent. It's like, people say like, oh, where did tetrapod limbs come from? Well, they came from fins. Like fish had pectoral fins that. Nope. Hold on. Yes, pectoral
Yeah,
fins. That limbs are descended from, right? They didn't come out of nowhere. And we did a video recently, or a couple of videos really, where we in our Ancestors Tale series where we looked at like a lot of stuff in us, and we looked at like the very kind of origin of it. For instance, like your ears. So your ears are, the eustachian tube that like leads to your ears, which connects to the back of your throat, your pharynx. Like that's the same structure as the spirochelar tract that sharks and stingrays have. Like it's literally the same thing, and that is the first gill arch that is in like literally all vertebrates. And so it's like these structures were all already around for tens, if not hundreds of millions of years before they came to be used for these particular purposes. Or we did the actually in that same video we talked about the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is like a particular protein or it's like a family of proteins, and it nests within a larger group. So it's like it's related to like cytoglobin and neuroglobin and all these other proteins that are like duplicates of each other. So they duplicate, then they go off in their own evolutionary routes, and they duplicate from each other, and they have more duplicates, and they all go off in their own evolutionary directions. And it's like, it's very obvious that they're all duplicates of each other because they all share the same like underlying characteristics. They're just used for slightly different purposes. So like cytoglobin and neuroglobin bind to oxygen, but they don't transport oxygen all throughout the body. They're like in particular tissues. And so it's like, they already had the features that are important for them. They were using them for millions of years before you use them for like or use them in this particular context. So it's like, it's just, no one's ever heard of like exaptation before. It's bananas.
They've never heard of round Earth.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So, Clutch, thank you for doing the calc. We have a couple of math whizzes in here. Apparently, if you add the positions in add the positions in the alphabet of the letters in Big Bang, wrapping around after 9 back to 1, for some reason they add up to 33. Checkmate, atheist. Mwahaha.
Numerology is not mathematics, okay? I am not a mathematician, but I did major in math in college, and I am offended. And also a clown. Is BDH here?
I haven't seen her, so don't do. No seances. Also, for $2, Scott Duke says, "Loving the show. You should have Jackson on more." Yes, Jackson does not have time to do his own show, so he should only come on our show.
I mean,
it's funny you say that because I'm going to have to cancel this Thursday show too because my work is receiving some business related awards, and so I was like last week we were having our normal show and then actually cut out. Wait, what is today? No, today's Friday. It was this week. Today is
Sunday.
Sunday. Sorry, today's Sunday. Time isn't real. So today's Sunday. On Thursday, we were having our normal show. Unfortunately, Peter lost power, and so we had to cut the show. And I was like, well, it's fine. We'll just do it next week. And I realized, like, oh man, I have a thing I have to go to. I can't do it next week.
Yeah, if you want to watch Jackson, you have to come here.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's true.
For $2, Fern Lovebond says, "Yay for the carnivorous plant. Get him, cousin."
Nice. I love it.
Also, for $10, Jake Nelson says, "Let's take the piss out of Hans by embracing the conspiracy theory that Jackson is Hans, and everything on his channel is just the greatest joke ever." Jackson is not amused.
and then it slowly evolved to become, right? You're either a trap mechanism that works, but you can't take away a piece and still be successful. A Venus flytrap that doesn't have a fully functioning trap is not successful.
Is that true?
I don't know. I don't know all the.
If
I don't
it
know enough
is
of
true,
the.
if it is true, does that mean evolution is fake and a lie and BS?
So no, if you take away a part, so first, I don't know if you took away a part today, would the Venus flytrap fail to work? Because I don't know all the parts that are in the Venus flytrap, and I'm willing to guarantee he doesn't either.
Yes.
but also, if you take away a part today, does that mean that the process of evolution didn't lead to them working together? And the answer is no. So evolution can result in irreducible complexity. And Dan Stern Cardinal, who's in the side chat there, Creation Myths,
Oh, is it?
he actually debated Michael Behe and like pointed this out. And I know people point out. I know there have been people who point this out to Michael Behe because like evolution can you can have a gene and then like you can separate it into parts, which is subfunctionalization. Then each of those like does a part of the original, and so you have to have both of them to function, whereas originally you only had one. Well, that's like irreducible complexity. You can no longer have the total function without having both of those together. And so like evolution can result in irreducible complexity. That's why we argue, or that's why you have to be careful with people who are arguing for irreducible complexity. You have to point out that that term doesn't mean simply that you can't take away a part from a thing and it won't work anymore. It means that there was not a series of steps that led up to the current morphology of the thing. Like that's what that term means.
Yeah.
And Jackson, have you ever debated Ken Hovind?
Twice.
I'm so sorry.
I did it way back in like 2017, I think. Yeah, it must have been. I did it way back in 2017. That was the first one. I think I did pretty badly in that one because I didn't know the pattern that well yet. I was still a naive, little YouTube babe at the time. And then years later on Modern Day Debate or Modern Day Hysteria, whatever it was at the time, I debated Hovind again, and as Atheist Junior has pointed out, I think Hovind had a stroke in the middle of the debate because he says something to the effect of
that.
he says like we don't even have a brief stick Nelson or something like that in the middle of a sentence, and I'm sitting there. I don't even think I caught it at the time. I think it just whizzed right past me. But when AJ played it later for me, I was like, huh?
Well, did he keep on going like that? Because I know there was a period when Hovind did seem to be neurologically off.
He did. He just kept going. It was just like in the middle of a sentence, and he just kept going with it. So
okay, well, that might have just been a random thing that happens to me. Okay, I mean, has anyone ever really been so far as decided to even want to go look more like? Sorry.
Savage Cobra for $5 says now he's done it. Someone's going to have to wear Venus flytrap as a tie clip to court.
I don't know where my
I wear I have I think one tie. It's a black tie. I don't wear ties. I never wear ties. Or beefsteak Nelson, whatever it was. Yeah, I don't remember, but I was just like, what the frick? What did he say? Yeah.
Found my bow tie.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
It's close enough.
Close enough.
Can't get the nutrients it needs to survive. So, same thing with these.
Mm-hmm.
This did not come out of nowhere. God
That's
created
true. It certainly
incredible...
didn't come out of nowhere. I agree with that statement.
Not gonna lie though, this is like an insect horror movie right here, right? It's just this slow, inevitable thing that you could be a millimeter away from it and be totally safe, but once you touch it, you're just completely done. What up, Peter?
Peter, the man of the hour. Thank you. Thanks to Peter and thanks to Bree for helping put us all together.
Yeah.
Amount of plants and animals, not all of the ones that people believe in these days, because Satan is a deceiver. Satan wants to copy God, so God created animals, and Satan wants to do that too. So there's a lot of hybrids these days.
Wait, did Satan create like plants? Is that the implication here? Or
He created carnivorous plants.
okay, is that like that? That's like that Monty Python bit. You like trees? I made trees. You know.
Anybody can look at a giraffe and see that thing is not correct. It's zoos do weird
Real quick.
genetic mutation.
Fern Love Bond for $2. You can call me Beefsteak Nelson from now on.
So, did he get you confused with Aaron? Because that's the only.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nelson. That's right. He did. I totally forgot that was Aaron's name.
He calls Aaron Mr. Well, it's not Aaron's
right.
name.
It's not
Aaron
his name.
Changed
Right.
his name. But yeah, you know what? But we all know what it means. It's not.
No, I don't think so. Because I talked to him before they had their epic showdown on was it Non Sequitur show? Yeah, I talked. This was like I think a couple of years before that. Yeah, that was like the first time. What was that? I don't remember what the second time was, but anyway. But yeah, because like he kept calling Aaron Mr. Nelson, even though that's not Aaron's name. It like hasn't been his name for years by this point, and it's like it's just rude. Of course, he's not a doctor. You know, Kent Hovind has no accredited doctorate in any field. So, and what's really funny is Aaron called him out on that at one point. Was it Aaron? I think it was. But anyway, Aaron called him out saying like, you put doctor on everything when you're not a doctor, and he's like, oh no, actually that's not me. That's my tech team or whatever. And what's funny is I remembered a debate that Ken Hovind did with I think it was Massimo Pigliucci, where the moderator kept referring to Massimo as Dr. Pigliucci, and Hovind specifically says, if you're going to refer to him as Dr. Pigliucci, you need to refer to me as Dr. Hovind. It's like, I remember that. And so hearing him say, oh, I don't call myself Dr. Bull crap. You've been Dr. Dino for like 30 years now.
Yeah. I don't know because there's like a part of me that would want to give it to him for the sake of argument, sort of like Mr. Anderson has had some conversations with Kent Hovind recently, which have been extremely entertaining. Because Mr. Anderson is a lawyer and knows how to systematically go through, and it's great stuff. But he adopts the position of just agreeing with Kent on a lot of preliminaries, like the existence of God and that he is a doctor and all of these things, and then holding that against him, as is his Mirandized right to do so, and it's great because he's like, aren't you a doctor? Shouldn't you know this? I'm a lawyer and I still know it.
Yeah.
Type stuff. So a big thing that shows that evolution is wrong.
Okay.
And so what's correct? Well, evolution, they say that everything happens in these small random changes that take forever to happen.
They do. Every single change takes forever. That's why no changes have happened yet.
How long is forever? Is forever like a trillion years?
If you put an infinite number of forevers in Hilbert's hotel and another forever shows up, can they put him in the hotel too?
Yes, they can. to be clear, the answer to that is unambiguously yes. But great point.
Well, that's just not how real world works. It's the same type of lies that they tell you about anything. Oh, the Grand Canyon.
So, like, with the idea
behind them,
with the idea that mutations never happen, we don't observe those. They don't cause any measurable change. Like that's been factually untrue for literally a century at this point. The fathers of like the fathers like of particulate inheritance, I guess you might say. Because like Mendel, kind of came up with his ideas of particular inheritance in the mid 1800s, and then like he was promptly forgotten about for another like 50 years, and then he was rediscovered by several different researchers in like around the turn of the 20th century, and then Thomas Hunt Morgan did his research, and basically his work is what like basically we came up with the idea of like chromosomes and linkage maps and recombination. It's all this super important stuff for genetics. All these things that like if you take a genetics 101 course, like most of that is going to be, or a lot of that's going to be his work. Be Thomas Hunt Morgan's work, as well as Mendel. And so you're being apprehended for your inane rambling. I feel like I'm doing the inane rambling now. But like Morgan showed that like mutations are responsible for, like he showed experimentally that mutations in particular regions are responsible, or particular regions of like your chromosomes are responsible for changes in the phenotype. And then like we've had literally decades of research with like fruit flies, just like what Morgan worked on, where mutations would occur in like fruit flies, and you could separate these populations and allow those mutations to accrue over generations, and then they would become unable to interbreed later. They would become new species. In one instance, it took only 5 years for that to happen. Only 5 years, and it was by accident. They didn't even realize that that the flies were becoming separate species. It was just like Dobzhansky's team was like, okay, we'll put these over here and then these flies over here, and like they didn't do like any research with them or whatever, but then they tried to cross them later, and then they couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't interbreed with each other because they'd become too distinct genetically to interbreed. And it's like that's because of mutations. That's because of random quote quote probabilistic, stochastic, whatever mutations that accrue in these populations that cause them to not be able to interbreed anymore. It's like we have literally observed this more than once. So
Yeah, numerous times. It's I keep on learning of like new and different things. One of the things that I like to tell people is that, in my opinion, based on what I know, and I'm not an evolutionary biologist or whatever, but in my opinion, based on what I do know, the theory of biological evolution is more thoroughly and well established than atomic theory. And I'm an atomic physicist. So the reason I say that, like I can go into detail about it, it kind of boils down to the fundamental statements of evolution simply cannot be wrong without us all being delusional, or at least I guess me being delusional about whatever everybody else thinks, idealism. But atomic theory, our understanding fundamentally of what an atom is very different from when the word atom was invented. It's very different from when atoms were conceived of and understood by chemists in the 17 and 1800s, and it's very different from when Einstein put the nail in the coffin of being like, yes, atoms exist in 1905. Atomic theory did not exist. Our understanding of atoms as like fundamentally quantum objects is fundamentally different from that. Darwin's theory of evolution has had a lot of modifications and additions and evolutions, but the fundamental mechanism of descent with modification, that is fundamentally it can only be wrong in the same way that the sky isn't blue. Like, yeah, we could be wrong about that, but we're not.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's like you can't the conditions under which like you don't have evolution are like basically you're not going to have them. It's just it's not. There are some conditions like you have an infinite population size. You have literally no mutations. You have no like you don't have natural selection like, and then you have random like random mating.
Well, I mean, but is it true that both of you are bought out by big science?
Yes.
Yes.
I collect my fat Soros checks every Sunday when the Christians are in church.
I get most of my checks are about the flat Earth thing instead. So NASA cuts me a big old check. It's great.
Nice. I love that government
Regios,
money.
Regios, you angel, gifted 10 cult members to the chat. So welcome back, Sydney Rafter, Daryl Frost, Caden, who's in the chat, Peter Guns, You're Victoria, Scott. No, Aunt Jura was gifted a membership. Brilliant, Best Freya, Nils Edom, Eddie Edwards. Yeah, I think that's so. If any of those people got a cult membership from Regios, please say thank you. And also, not to be outdone, I have Fern Lovebond, who has also gifted us 5 more cult members. We love all of you so much. Billy Bong Salot, Jenna, friend of the show, you hooligan, Joe Hadaway, Hannah Anderson. Yeah, those are the 5. So not sure if any of those are here, but please, if you are, say thank you to Fern, and all of you, please enjoy your tapioca weasels, your nitties, and vaginas.
Weasel cult.
Common knowledge would tell us that it's really quick, that things can, if you want to use the word, I don't use the word evolution because that's just, it's loaded and not correct. They adapt. Things adapt, or random mutations do occur, especially because they do a lot of weird inbreeding.
So if population characteristics change over time as a result of adaptations due to certain people having better adaptations and then, passing those on, that's totally not evolution, right?
Yeah, that doesn't meet the definition of like changing allelic frequencies and populations over generation or anything. Like, no, that's not what that is.
Well,
Fine.
I mean, thank God for Hans educating us, right?
It's true.
Stuff.
You know, it is so funny. I was talking to Spackle earlier today. She was like, last time I was in your chat, I saw Sea of Green. like, yeah, we love that.
Yep.
What they sell you as evolution, creatures slowly becoming new creatures in the future, that's just not how it works. We have heirloom varieties, and a big thing about plants.
What does that have to do with anything?
What do we have? Wait, hold on. What's so funny about that too is like, again, we're talking about varieties within species. So we're talking about distinct populations that have their own distinct like sets of like alleles that are distributed in frequencies that are different from other populations, which presumably they share common ancestry with. So we're talking about change in allele frequency in separate populations over generations. Gosh, I wonder if there's a word for that. Like, it starts with an E. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. Oh well.
Yeah, but a dog always gives birth to a dog. A dog never gives birth to a non-dog.
That is true. I agree with that.
Right?
I couldn't find an article talking about it, but I didn't really look very hard. I've read this before.
I don't think any of us caught that when we were looking through this video before the show. But I love it when they do, because here's the thing. When you catch me like actually engaging with people that like vehemently disagree with me, I will tell them on issues. I'm like, I didn't really look that hard. And my point is the point that's because all of this is like complete nonsense fundamentally. And I know that at levels and in ways that genuinely you're not aware even exist. But like, don't say the quiet part out loud unless you got receipts to back it up.
Yeah, I very very brief tangent. I commented not too long ago on Twitter, which I know first mistake. And I said something to the effect of like, oh, we're just weird fish, and then I listed a bunch of characteristics that we share in common with fish, but are obviously like different in us compared to them. And this guy, the creationist who Dapper and I had debated, named Robert Groen, he did a whole video on my tweet. And like the first sentences of his video are, Jackson made a tweet that said, we're just weird fish, and I didn't read the rest. I was flabbergasted. My guests were flabbered. I was like, I don't know how to argue with that. I don't think I can. If you just say I didn't bother to read it, but you're wrong, like, okay, all right.
I mean, that's like a Sal Cordova original right there.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if there's anything to say to that. It's kind of like when Dr. Josh said that he spent like a whole day out of his vacation trying to figure out a thoughtful response to S.J. Thomason. She read it and then like didn't even respond to it, just immediately pivoted. And
I will say, even this is a thing that happens even with people who I am convinced are like really trying. It is very rare for them to actually sit down and in that moment when you're providing them with it. And by in that moment, sometimes I mean like that moment might last a day and a half, depending. It is very hard to actually be like, listen, I might be wrong, and there might be a legitimate, real, solid point here, and it tough. Deal with it. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're gonna have to get over it. We all are. I have the same problem.
Yeah, my favorite Twitter response is nothing. You know, I mean,
my favorite Twitter participation in the conversation in the first place is nothing, because Twitter is fake. It's called X. What is wrong with you people?
So recently a response, and I'm using that term very loosely, is since the site has become populated with like
Nazis.
I was gonna say I was gonna use a euphemism, but yeah, Nazis. I was going to say like national, National Socialist Workers Party adjacent people, like that they don't even respond to my tweets anymore. They just take the like my avatar and just say, "This is what you look like," and I'm like, "Yes." That is indeed what I look like. Yes.
Are you saying fundamentally that the look of like a white guy with a t-shirt and like brown hair and a brown beard and like a mustache, yours is a little darker than mine, are you saying that's problematic? Because I gotta say, I'm extremely fragile and I feel called out.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I mean, to describe one of you,
so somebody at the beginning of chat, the moment like had passed by the time I had seen it, somebody was asking if you and I were related in like 8 different ways. They were like, "Are you his father? Is he your father? Are you guys brothers? Are like is one of you a nephew of the other?" It was really weird because most of it seemed to imply that we were like different generations, which I think we're clearly the same generation. Unless I seem way older than that.
What year are you born?
91. I'm 32.
Yeah, well, okay. I guess technically, like I'm first year Gen Z, but we were born literally just 6 years apart. So
yeah, this is what I'm saying.
And I feel old as hell right now.
Well, okay, but everybody comes here to look at you, so
You're at least a part of me.
Or I'm not a farmer or anything, but it seems legit to me. They say if you collect seeds that you grew in your area, so let's say you plant seeds in your area, they grow up into a cucumber plant or whatever.
I don't care about this.
And if you save the seeds from genetics,
I'm going to skip to the end of the heirloom part. Well, or at least
we're 5 minutes in.
That's why it's an executive decision.
Why aren't we doing like 1.25 speed?
We're doing
right, because you couldn't see the screen.
No, I could see this screen, and we have been doing 1.15 speed since the beginning.
How about 2.5? What would that be like?
About in school, they don't talk about how gardening works, or they don't actually have you grow a bunch of plants to learn about botany. You read a bunch of literature that's propaganda.
I don't.
Wait, what? You read a bunch of literature that's propaganda. As someone who has TA'd botany lab for 3 years, well, I mean, reading literature. Okay, so for one thing, we really don't give them that much evolutionary stuff. It's mostly like morphology, or it's morphology and life cycles. Like that's the predominance of like the botany lab. Yeah, the lecture you get a lot more evolution stuff, but in the lab we teach them about like, like, okay, these are different parts of a mushroom. The like mushrooms have like the basidiospores, whereas like your yeast have the ascospores, and then like we go through the different types of algae, we go through different types of plants and go through their life cycle and stuff. But like, what do you mean by like what does propaganda mean? What does that mean?
Well, so we were talking about the Nationalist Socialist German Workers' Party earlier.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can help us understand what propaganda is.
I mean, if we just tell a lie often enough, it becomes true, right? So,
Develop your own heirloom things. That seems like something that would actually be fun to do. But you would never do something like that in public education. You're just regurgitating whatever a textbook tells you.
What? Okay, wait a second. I've never. Wait, hold on.
Planting things.
College is not public education. At least not
Some of it
most
is.
people. I don't think. I guess yeah. For some people it is. I guess, but yeah, for most of us.
Even then, so like I did graduate school at a public university, but only 3% of their funding comes from like public sources, like the state, which I'm not aware of non-state public sources, I guess. So, but
yeah, I mean, like, well, okay. So botany is not about growing plants. You're not learning how to grow plant. Botany is the study of plants, right? It has. I mean, sure, you can grow plants and like watch their life cycle and see like, oh, okay, when we plant these angiosperms, we have the hypocotyl and and whatever else like the cotyledons and all this. And it's like, okay, well, sure, you can do that and you can like incorporate it as part of your learning process, but like that takes time, and unless you have something that grows really fast, like your Brassica rapa or something like that, which I guess you could do it, but typically botany is more about morphology and life cycle of things that have longer lifespans. So like, and you really don't need to learn how to like garden when you take botany. That's not what botany is about. It's not about gardening. Like, it's clear like he's never taken a botany class, or any higher education whatsoever. So.
I agree with everything you said, and I have no response. May God have mercy on our souls.
More than 3,000 varieties of heirloom or heritage tomatoes. Okay, but that doesn't make... And, okay, where does this come into evolution theory, BS science? That doesn't mean that there's 300 different species of tomatoes. It means that tomatoes can change. Tomatoes can change through...
Well, that's why they're called varieties and not species, right? Because they are cross-fertile. That's why we call them varieties. It's there. It's right there on the page. Thank you for pointing out the obvious.
Yeah, but they're different kinds.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's not evolution. It's just the way things work. Okay. These are all dogs.
Those aren't dogs. They're just pictures of them.
Oh, sorry, liberal. That's a dog. No. Okay, here's my spicy take on dogs is like we actually have bred them into like
different species.
Into different species, and I'll preface this with
I can do that.
So if we're using the definition, the like typical definition of species, which is being able to produce fertile offspring, then like how is that going to work between a Great Dane and a Chihuahua?
Very carefully.
If we're going to go with like, oh well, you can hybridize them if you like take sperm from one and egg from the other and put them together. It's like, well, yeah, but then if that's the case, then like different, what is it, like a llama and alpaca which are different species can hybridize. So it's like, if we go with that, then a lot of things we consider different species are like suddenly going to fall in. And I have to point out very quickly the reminder that humans can actually fertilize hamster eggs.
What?
Yes. So it used to be
You promised you wouldn't talk about this, okay? We signed an NDA and everything. Okay, I didn't know it was a hamster. Oh, wait.
The money wasn't good enough, so here so there used to be a test for fertility that was you remove the zona pellucida, which is this protein coat around ova. It's basically that's part of the like I guess you went to like the the moat and the castle walls that kind of protects the special stuff inside the egg from sperm that is of the wrong species. So the zona pellucida, if the proteins don't match up, then sorry, doesn't work. However, if you remove that, you can actually get human sperm to fertilize a hamster ovum, and it actually undergoes, I think it's 3 divisions before it basically just breaks down. And funny enough, I learned that information from a creationist. It was Georgia Purdom in one of the chapters that RJ and I looked at for The Rocks Were There. We she mentions that
which chapter?
It was on the Strangeness of Kinds, which I believe was chapter 5, because they're trying to suss out what is the kind distinction, and I didn't know about the whole hamster embryo thing, but she brought it up and was like, no, this doesn't count because there's some degree of I guess you could say that for the first 3 or 4 divisions, it's under control of the mother, so it's maternally controlled, and then after that, it switches to the DNA that's in the ovum.
What the fuck is that?
That's the table of contents.
What is this? This is The Rocks Were There, which is a wonderful book that is written by who is it written by? It's written by Downard and Wheat. And I'm pretty sure that we can recognize Mr. Wheat here.
I've never seen him in my life.
Yeah, and we got chapter 5 on the Strangeness of Kinds. But
I read what you look like.
I can't see it.
It's true. I do look like that. I can confirm. Very unfortunate. I
deal with
what?
No, I just started talking earlier too about how when right wingers lose an argument, they immediately devolve into disparaging you based on your looks.
Yeah.
So this is how you know you won, and you just say thank you, no applause, and fuck off. $2 for Fern Love Bond. What is a kind? Or beer's a kind, gentlemen?
A kind of drink.
Yeah. They're a great kind of drink.
So anyways, that's some horror for anyone who didn't know that we can fertilize hamster eggs.
I didn't mean to, okay? It was a mistake. I was drunk. I'm sorry.
All of these are dogs. They're not different species. A Great Dane is the same thing as a Chihuahua. They're both dogs.
You know what? We are the same. We are both mammals. Us and the dogs there. We're both just mammals. We're just mammals. We're just different kinds of mammals,
So here's the thing about, and I gotta say, for most of this video, Hans Wormhat is way less crazy than he normally is. So far, for most of the video, he's normal level crazy.
Yeah.
All of this so far has been completely normal Yek stuff. So, and we're probably gonna have to, we're gonna...
Look, wow.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
It's not your fault. It's
no.
Fault.
No, we still have half an hour before we have to jump to the last 5 minutes that Tapioca Weasel's so excited about.
Well, that's because I have a duty to burn every last bridge I have with Jackson Wheat by doing irreparable mental trauma.
An example of more hands-on people really abusing what you might even call hidden knowledge about mixing species together, and I do believe that they do things like that.
Is it really hidden?
Dogs are a good example.
I mean, different species hybridize in nature. That's how you get reticulate evolution. That's how you get hybrid species. When you have basically a zone of hybridization between, like, which is in the geographic overlap between two species, and they are close enough that they can hybridize, they will. I mean, that just happens. And sometimes it happens often enough that they actually create a population of hybrids that are all fertile with each other that then can become a new species. I mean, that happens with plants quite a bit. That happens with clownfish or the anemone fish more broadly. So, like, yeah, that's not us alone. Like, it's not just us doing this. Like, that happens. We've known about this since like the 1950s. This is way long time. This is not new.
Controversial, potentially question. Do you think that it is possible for a human and a chimp to produce offspring?
Like, would it I don't know if it would necessarily be viable.
It
Like, I
certainly wouldn't be fertile. It certainly
Right.
wouldn't be fertile.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. We've been separated for like 6 million years, and we have some like chromosomal, like structural differences between them. Like we're down an entire pair of chromosomes. So like, I don't know, that we'd have some weird aneuploidy stuff going on. Maybe, like, and even if we did, maybe it would be like it would also just like die as like an embryo or a fetus or something. Wouldn't make it through development. It's possible. I mean, if if a freaking sturgeon and a paddlefish can have offspring, which we're non-fertile, but if they can have offspring after being separated for over 100 million years, maybe it's possible. I think so.
That's amazing.
Right.
I didn't know about that.
I lacked fucks for it, but thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge with the chat. So for $2, Vonrick, do we have a drinking game, or do we need to invent one? I mean, I drink whenever I feel like it, but I mean, yeah, we'll think about it. Also, I'd like to thank you, Jackson, for coming by. Apparently, when they can't give money to you, they come by here and give me a fuck ton. I like it. So if you're not, we're supposed to have another person next week. But if you would like to not stream and then come back here next week,
Well, I mean,
it's
it
a
probably wouldn't
joke.
be.
It's a joke. Standing offer, though. I
I'm
do like
happy
the
to come
money.
back. I enjoy the show. I'm happy to come back. But yeah, next Thursday is gonna be a little busy.
We understand.
Next Thursday?
Yes, he can't do his own show next Thursday.
Yeah, so I can't do my own show. It's like I'm gonna be too busy for my own show. So if you want me to come back, on like a Sunday or something in the future, yeah, I'm happy to do that. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, I
If
think
you do a lot
we're
of
making our way through like all of Dapper's guests slowly but surely.
I mean, it's just the intelligent thing to do.
breeding, you can get strange mutations. You're not creating new species. You're just making freak hybrids.
hey,
Tulips,
that's not very
same with
nice.
plants. These
They
are all
don't
the same.
identify as freaks.
How do you know? Have you asked them?
Well, okay, pit bulls maybe.
Ooh. Shots fired. I only know one pit bull, and she's too nice and too dumb to have a problem with what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same. These are all tulips, just through different breeding, and some might be more natural than others.
There are
but
different.
You can get a wide variety.
There are different species of tulips, though. Those are not all the same species. Yes, you can have different varieties, but there are different species of tulips that are not interfertile. Okay, whatever.
Yeah?
It's just a tulip. Ooh, all the same.
Tell that to the Dutch,
That's fair.
same-
Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
species, and
They're
it
not.
didn't take millions and millions and millions of years for these things to evolve.
I mean,
Because
though.
that type of evolution is bullshit. It's to take you away from God. That's why they do those lies. You can even have.
Not gonna lie, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Daryl Frost's profile, which is like the dog jumping, and it's adorable. Is Daryl Frost still in chat? Because I love you, Daryl, and I want you to post something so that people can see. your profile picture.
I haven't seen him in a couple of about 10,
Oh,
15 minutes, but
okay, but like he was here earlier for
he
sure.
was,
These
yeah.
subpopulations. There's this thing about areas where there's a bunch of
There he is. Fantastic. Look at it. Look at it.
Let me
See,
see.
it's basically the same. It's a dog version of this adorable
It's beautiful.
almost weasel. Okay, so how far are squirrels from mustelids?
Well, so squirrels are rodents. Rodents are part along with the rabbits, and then of course rodents, and like the lagomorphs. Those are together. That's the gliers, and then gliers plus primates, tree shrews, and colugos is your contigliers, which is one of the 4 superorders of mammals. Mustelidae is in the next superorder, which is Boreoeutheria. So they are carnivorans. They have the carnassials. So they're pretty distant. We share a common ancestor with them, like upwards of like 100 million years ago or so, something like that. Or rodents and mustelids also same thing.
We are a proud people. This is what I have to say.
white squirrels. That's why I included this.
Why they got to be white?
There are more than 200 species of squirrels. How do you prove that? Who gets to decide that? How do you know that it's not just one species of squirrel that has adapted to many different areas?
Well, I
And
mean,
this
there's
is
a
one-
lot of there's lots of different considerations that go into that. I mean, for one thing, you can literally observe that, like, if 2 populations of squirrels will not interbreed. I mean, that's one way you can observe that. You can also look at like there are different species concepts based on like morphology, based on genetics, based on the fossil record. These are all things you have to factor, or based on ecological niche. That's another one. All these things you have to factor together to figure out what a species is. But I mean, in cases like squirrels, where we will have multiple species of squirrels that all like live in the same area and they don't interbreed, you can be pretty assured that those are separate species. I don't know.
Okay,
Crazy.
but the animals don't care what we call them, right?
Well, true, right? So all taxonomic categories, again, here comes another spicy take. Taxonomic categories are arbitrary. I know it's so spicy. Like, and I mean that's definitely true for everything above species. Like, it's sort of true of species too. But anyway,
There's like 18 different articulated, defined definitions for what a species is.
right, exactly, and so you're using, or when researchers call something, or are like looking at 2 populations and trying to decide whether or not they count as 2 separate species, they take all those things I mentioned into account. They don't just go, different species. No, come on. They write these extremely dry papers on. I'm sorry. They are like, I love biology, but oh my god, taxonomic papers are the driest papers. It's like Ben Shapiro's wife. I don't know how people write those. It's pretty crazy. They will spend 40 pages being like, I don't think that this population is in this subspecies. I think we should elevate it to a separate species. Like, cool, great, good for you. I don't know.
47 pages. Question: how much genetic DNA is used to help taxonomy?
Oh, a lot. Oh, absolutely a lot. I mean, if you take a number of members, you got 2 populations, you take a number of members from each of them, you sequence their DNA, and if you find, for instance, like that, like everyone in each of these populations is like more closely related to all the members of that population than they are to anybody in the other population, then that's one way you can use that to factor in, or you can factor that in your analysis of whether or not they're separate species, because they all share a closer common ancestor, right? And it doesn't seem like there's gene flow going on between these populations. So that's something you do factor into it. So yeah, genetics works a lot.
Are sugar gliders squirrels? Cannot talk today.
I see AR points out that they're marsupials. Yeah, sure.
Gotcha.
Or sorry, and flying squirrels are simple animals. Yeah, they're not closely related. They are I guess depending on your point of view, Australia kind of convergently evolved a lot of ecological niches,
Mhm.
which is super weird. They evolve like their own anteaters, their own moles, their own like flying squirrels, their own like cats,
That's really cool. And
and
they're all
wolves.
marsupials.
Yeah, so like
That's really cool.
you have numbats, which are like kind of like weird cat-ish kind of marsupials. You have the thylacine, the Tasmanian wolf. There you have the sugar gliders you mentioned. There's also like phalangers, which are also little glidey guys. Um, there's also what did I say? Cat moles. Yeah, there are marsupial moles, which look like moles. Yeah, lots of just basically they all kind of fill these similar niches, and as a result of filling these similar niches, they evolve similar morphology. So yeah,
Bruce coming for your neck.
what
They're literally possums.
what are?
I I was hoping you would know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are. I mean, there are possums are marsupials, so that is true. I don't know.
And then also, you hooligan gifted us 5 more cult members. Thank you, thank you. And those went out to Michael Granato, friend of the show, Michelle Ferguson, Nana Blooms. Whoops. Um, Hunter Biden's laptops, friend of the show, and Hecklick. Also, which, yeah, and it's so funny. I was saying to Spackle earlier. She was saying to me that she was what do you call it? She got notification that her membership had expired. And I'm like, you know what? If that ever happens to you, just give it one Sunday. I swear to God, you'll get it back. As long as you've made at least one comment in the chat. Um, no,
Yeah.
we have a really good crew here. And thank you, you hooligan. If you got to get membership from your hooligan, please thank him for being such an awesome person. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel coming in with reparations, 5 cult members of his own. And those were 2. Secular Sakai, who's your buddy? B.S. Lewis, friend of the show. What the Beck, friend of the show. And Let's Farm.
Okay, so the in addition to reparations, the other reason I did that was to test to see if Savage Cobra had memberships activated, which obviously they do not.
I don't know. I think you better gift another 20 just to make sure.
Yeah, no, I don't know that many reparations. I do. It's just I'm spreading them out.
Yes. How does something like this evolve? So going back to how
the
does something like
bombardier beetle. We're doing this again. Oh man.
Oh, the bombardier beetle. Man, where the fuck are the bingo cards when you need them?
The
That's
the
a
funny
good
thing
question,
is,
Maya, because I have a site for that.
oh, okay.
Do you? I'm sorry, Jackson was talking.
Oh no, I was just laughing about the bingo cards. Um, yeah, the bombardier beetle. This was one of like Dwayne Gish's old arguments back from like the 90s, or yeah 80s 90s whatever he lived. The argument was like so these spray this like noxious fluid. And he claimed it was like explosive or whatever. That's simply not true. So first of all, the chemicals that are in it that make it noxious are also again all present within arthropods. It is again just an instance of you are putting these together at particular times and particular amounts instead of like making whole new material. Like it's not explosive. It's not like super. What is it? It was like superheated or whatever it was the claim, but it's whatever.
All right, Regios gifted us 10 more cult members, and those went out to H.L. A-word, Kira J, Stephanie Helms, oh, friend of the show, Anna Mod, Nikki Hill, Northern Chim, and whoa, are we at the top of our? That can't be right. We'll see if more come through. But thank you, Regios, for our memberships and all of our new members today. Goodness, we have a lot. Please enjoy your tapioca weasels, your nitties, and your vaginas.
Does evolve. How does a Venus flytrap evolve when you remove any one of the components?
Oh, so I found it.
That is involved.
So the two chemicals are hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide, things that you have like in abundance, or that they have in abundance already in them, and so it's like you're just combining them to do this. It's not making new stuff. So anyway,
Involved with a trap, and you no longer have a functioning organism. Same thing with.
I mean, if its butt doesn't explode, it's completely non-functional. I mean, I didn't know IBS was such an important part of the functioning of animals.
Something like the animals that spray. There's complex chemical reactions happening. It was planned that way. That can't just arise out of chaos. Here's another. This is a aquatic carnivorous plant. Very interesting. It's called a water wheel.
It is. I mean, he's not wrong.
It is very interesting. Yeah.
I'll take a drink, even though we don't play an organized drinking game.
How does a colony type thing evolve? Where are the precursors to bees? Where I know fossil record doesn't make that much sense.
Wait a minute. We actually, not only do we have precursors of bees, they were explicitly predicted by paleoentomologists like years before their discovery. Svika myrma is it's like a bee wasp. Sorry, not Svika myrma. That's the ant wasp. Mellitus fex is the bee wasp. But like these were predicted to exist by paleoentomologists before their discovery. So, to quote Standing for Truth, that's a gold standard right there, the gold standard prediction. So yeah, we know that bees are a subset of wasps. We know that from morphological data. We know that from genetic data. They're hymenopterans. Basically, all hymenopterans are wasps. They're like bees are wasps gone vegetarian, and ants are wasps gone wingless, mostly. So like, what do you mean? We have the fossil record for this already. This is like 50 plus years ago we found these things. Come on, get with the program. And colonial behavior is not shocking at all. The fact that organisms associate together either for for protection or foraging or whatever, like that's not at all. That's not unusual. That's just a normal thing. Even slime molds do this. Come on. They associate together.
It's for insects, but you get what I'm saying. Where's the fossil records for bees? What was there before bees? Did they have a queen system? How do you...
He doesn't like it when you have answers. It really...
Well, that's too dang bad.
It gets all up in his jock, and he's not feeling it. Yeah, that's...
You get the queen system, and then the drones, and then it's too complex to just arrive
chaotically.
So
the difference between the that, okay, so that's there were like legitimate debates about like where does that system come from? Is it based on like hymenopterans have this weird genetic system that's called haplodiploidy, where basically the males are haploid while the females are diploid, which ends up with this really weird situation where like the females are more closely related to each other than males are. It's really weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's like the math all works out. It's very strange, but
math is weird. You can't trust math.
I'll take your word for it. You're the expert on the math here.
It's our only choice. Math is the language of nature. That's why nature is so weird.
I like that. I think I'm going to appropriate that. And so yeah, it's very strange. There's but like these are all I mean a lot of the like the genetics and the the coloniality of like bees and wasps and ants. Like this has all been worked out by now. This is not weird or unusual. I guess it's not unexplained. I should say. So
Okay.
Designed.
mm-hmm.
I like this. This is kind of like a reverse volcano.
I love when people just randomly kill whole colonies of insects. Yeah, that's so fun.
This is not a reverse volcano. Also, like just the mechanics of that are totally different. I mean, I guess like a molten rock. In this case, it's aluminum. It's not a rock. I guess aluminum is a rock, but you know what I mean. I'm not gonna lie though, if it's fire ants and they're in the wrong place, I'm not gonna feel bad if somebody does this.
Consider this. Maybe we're in the wrong place.
Yeah, but you know what? It's animal against animal, and I'm not gonna feel bad about winning. Like
They never tell you about animal on animal crime.
They don't feel bad about winning.
What is the fact that almost broke Kent Hovind?
I don't know. What is it?
Oh, which one?
I don't know. I was just wondering if. So Joe made this comment, and I'm like, wait, which you guys talk a lot? Which one are we talking about?
I gotta swap the batteries.
My favorite fact that I brought up against Kent Hovind during our second debate, so when I was actually prepared, was he. I watched a video. RJ made me watch a bunch of videos of Kent Hovind in preparation for my debate with him, and one of them he made the claim that mammoths couldn't have been like cold weather or cold biome animals, and I was like, that's
What?
bananas. Because, well, for one thing, my immediate go-to is like,
What?
can we look at their gut contents and see that all they ate was Arctic plants? Which, yeah, of course we can do that. We find them only in like permafrost strata, stuff like that. Like, yeah, or well, okay, not necessarily. We do find some mammoths in warmer places. I was thinking like woolly mammoths, but like, yeah, we can find that they ate Arctic plants, and we find in their feces. We find it in their gut contents. We find the pollen in their teeth. These are all Arctic plants. But his argument was they didn't have sebaceous glands, so they couldn't have like prevented their fur from matting. And I was like, what? So I didn't know that at the time. So I said, why do you think this during our debate? And he said, oh, they didn't have sebaceous glands. 10 seconds. I went, okay, mammoth sebaceous glands. Oh, look, first result. This mammoth found preserved or with sebaceous glands preserved. And I read like the abstract. I said, you've been saying this for like how many years and you didn't even bother to look it up? What's wrong with you?
Ew, he can't be bothered to look stuff up. Like there's grifting to do. Duh.
I am a lot more reluctant than most people to accuse people of grifting. Kent Hovind has been a grifter for as long as there is footage of him. And that's saying something. It's not necessarily like, there's footage of a lot of people.
No, we're usually about on the same page. Like we give people more leeway than probably the 95% of the community. We're just like, no, they're serious. They're not grifters. They're just stupid.
Yeah,
and people get mad at us. No, they're trolls. Ban them. And we're like, wait.
The good faith approach, yeah.
Kent Hovind is a grifter. He is a grifter, and he is a criminal.
You cannot
and he is
convince me
person.
of anything else on him. I will fight you. That man is a goddamn grifter.
He might be a... It's not my channel. I'm not going to make that accusation.
If it's not your channel, go ahead and accusation away.
Okay, he might be into children in an unhealthy way, given the way he is behaving.
I think that people who are into children don't bother him. So that's apparent.
Based on what I've seen of all that, it seems to me that he might personally not be, but he is adjacent. It's like a lot of people around him do, because I mean, he goes through wives, like I go through CT. So,
he would not be opposed to a law explicitly eliminating an age of consent.
Sure, probably.
That's not okay, in my opinion.
Yeah, he has his knowledge of the age of consent laws of different states. He knows all of them. It's like anyone who knows the age of consent laws for every state. It's like you kind of go, why do you know
Yeah.
that?
Right.
That's weird. That's suspicious.
Just saying.
How does such a complex system arise chaotically? It doesn't.
You're right. It
You can't have
doesn't
a
because
colony with
what is
This
no one's
isn't
proposing
chaotic.
it is. What do you mean?
This is not chaotic. Has a specific meaning. Okay, so this is a math. Honestly, in the sense that he's referring to it, he may not think it's a math term, but it is a math term. A chaotic system is one where if you perturb the initial conditions very slightly, the end result is going to be like arbitrarily far away from the initial result. You're not going to be able to predict like its features beyond very like sort of general things. Biological systems, particularly things like ant colonies, are not that. They are the opposite of that. They converge on very similar behaviors because they're. I don't have a problem with saying they're coded to. I don't think our code needs a coder, but that's just me. Sorry.
with a queen, and then there's the fighter class, and then there's the harvesting ones that just go out.
And then there's the rogue class and
What
the
happened
wizard
before
class
that?
of ants. It's
Yeah.
all
Tieflings.
What was the just before an ant that wasn't quite a call? Do you see how?
What was the just before an ant that wasn't quite an ant?
the funny thing about again, another thing, like ants, there's no just like the ant. There are ants behave in different ways based on the species. So like some ants, are more solitary than others. Some are more social. Some ants take and like actually Darwin pointed to this in Origin of Species. He pointed out that some ant colonies are very heavily reliant on slave ant species, whereas others are only very lightly reliant on slave ant species. And so it's like he pointed out that there's this this spectrum of ant behaviors. So which doesn't really make sense from like a design point of view. Why would there be a spectrum of behaviors? But like it's the same thing, right?
Well, maybe God had a spectrum of personalities.
He's split, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get there. And this is a classic argument. I'm not the one who came up with this argument. It's just
we know.
Irreducible complexity. There's too much stuff around it.
The arguments that he comes up with are later, and I think after I might.
That is too complex that you can't reduce it to smaller parts and just keep adding on, like building it brick by brick. And what do they tell us about how life got here?
So, what do you think he's going to tell us about what they tell us about how life got here?
I don't know. Probably the warm puddle or whatever, warm pond.
And probably there's going to be lightning too, right?
Yeah.
Given
7 theories on the origin of life.
Yeah.
I thought this was really interesting. When I was in school, this was a really common bullshit.
You were in school? I don't believe it.
Sci-fi thing that they pushed. Oh, there were these sludgy areas and lightning came down and created amino acids, which that was the bullshit story they fed us. Well, you know what's happening there? Lightning. Satan fell to earth as a lightning bolt. They're giving crap to Satan.
What?
Didn't have that on your bingo card, did you?
No, I did. Wait, is that supposed to be corroboratory for like the origin of life? That like there was actually lightning, but it wasn't lightning; it was Satan. Is that the implication?
Apparently, the Satan is the origin of life, or something.
Lightning is Satan, and therefore, I have loyalty in hell. I'm just saying, right? Because my grandfather is basically Thor. Just saying. So,
I mean, okay,
Honda slime.
Pondo slime.
Just how they work with their lies. They tie in their symbology to the lies. 7. Nowadays, they probably push aliens. They're getting ready for a fake alien invasion. They're going to tell you that life came from outer space, which is fake, doesn't even exist. Look at all the CGI.
Look at all the CGI, because,
It's all the CGI. Yeah, just
all of the
space
CGI.
pictures. Oh, wait a minute. What? That might be. Wait. Oh, no, that's a comet. Okay, gotcha.
This
Yeah,
is the comet, and this is also a comet, and this is also a comet. And this is, yes, it's obviously CGI. He's not wrong there. Although, I don't think that's what it would look like. Just saying.
Okay.
By the way, comets look exactly
Wait.
like flashlights being shined underwater.
No, they don't. They really don't.
Wait a minute. What? Wait, what? What?
They look vaguely similar if you kind of squint. They do. Like, this kind of looks a little bit like a flashlight if you shone it underwater in kind of murky-ish sort of water, whatever. I can see it. It's fine. Like, I can see it. But they don't really look like that. Like, that doesn't actually look like what a flashlight would look like.
No.
It doesn't. It would look different. Also, comets, it's not so obvious in this picture here, but it might have been obvious in a different one. Comets often, this is sort of showing it here at the bottom here. They often have two tails. They have one tail that's made out of dust and ice, little flecks and whatnot that's coming off. It's made out of like solids. And then they have another tail which is made out of gases. And they are, particularly when it's close to the sun, they're not going to be pointing in the same way. The gaseous one will point directly away from the sun. And the solid one will point mostly away from the sun, but it's also kind of like a time-lagged thing because of like the momentum basically of the particles, and also probably due to details of the rotation and like how these things actually get emitted from the surface of the comet. But comets are really cool, and we know a lot about them. Like we've sent spacecraft now that have like gone and flown into comets, and this guy doesn't think any of that is real because he's a flat earther who thinks that anacondas are fake.
Okay, so what's the reason for the fake anaconda thing?
It's
just too big?
Yes.
Hans has never seen an anaconda, therefore it never existed.
He's never been to like a zoo before?
He'll get to that.
Oh no. Oh god.
He will. We might. Yeah.
By the way, comets look exactly like flashlights being shined underwater. And that's proof of the waters above. Comets, they show you the waters above. It's like a flashlight.
Then why don't they slow down? If they're soaring through water, why don't they slow down?
Because.
Are they swimming? Do they have fins?
Like, no, you don't understand. Because.
I hate
being shined. If you look up religious stuff, they push outer.
If you look up religious stuff, what is that sentence going towards? I'm sorry, like what?
Space all the time. If you look up religious stuff, they push outer space all the time. And God called the firmament heaven. Nothing about the firmament is outer space fantasy land. And God saw everything.
That's beautiful right there.
I mean, that's pretty, yeah.
Everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. I'm just going to read some scripture now.
Yeah.
Oh, after a few more really interesting.
Mantis shrimp. Okay, cool.
Mantis shrimp are some of the coolest animals.
I mean, they are cool. That is true. Okay. Like, they're just shrimp. They're shrimp that can hit things fast.
Yeah, but really, really, really fast, and that's why they're so cool.
They are pretty cool. Like, they hit things so fast, it like creates a vacuum, doesn't it?
It creates a vacuum. It creates light. When they whack the thing, it creates a flash of light because they hit it so hard that it actually superheats a little area of the thing, and it creates a shock wave. And also, they can break they can break any regular glass aquarium, like any of them, no problem. They can just break those. And plexiglass, I think if they go after a thin enough layer a couple of times, even then you gotta watch out. Like, they hit real hard. Also, they have 13 different types of like rods or cones or whatever in their eyes. We have 3. Dogs have 2. That's why they're colorblind mostly. Oh boy, I can't. I mean, do we even have to? Right?
Yeah, I feel like Darwin kind of dispensed with this one.
Right?
Thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee.
Oh, right. This is the part where he's just going to read some scripture.
Here's from Psalms.
We can jump over that, though, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
How about we go... I don't know exactly what he... Oh, well, you know what? We can't...
Why would we jump over this?
We wouldn't jump over that. No, I was jumping over the...
For scripture, you can pause it if you want to look at some of these.
You can
I just want to end with 2 points.
Is this one of the points that you want to end with?
Oh, no.
1 point is that they always control the opposition. People that you're going to see on TV or pushed in the media going against evolution, they're purposefully idiotic.
Wait. Ray Comfort is controlled opposition?
Yep.
Is that why, like, he's... Wait, okay, so does he think Ray Comfort, like, is not a creationist? Or...
Yeah, he probably thinks he's a paid actor.
But Comfort has been doing this, like, on his own time literally for decades.
You don't understand the depths of the things that this man will attribute to being just a paid actor.
Okay.
Okay? It gets way worse than this.
They'll be giving idiotic arguments on purpose. Oh, look at the banana. It fits perfectly in a human hand. Even though they know that the banana that we eat today has been genetically modified.
I mean, Kent Hovind made the same argument with broccoli.
Who says this?
Well, Ray Comfort makes the argument that the banana fits perfectly in the human hand.
Yeah.
So
it fits perfectly in a lot of other places, too.
All right, so I'm willing to admit that Ray Comfort is full of shit.
Yeah. Apparently he is too. So, I guess we're on the same page with Hans for once.
So, like, Kent Hovind also made the same argument, but regarding broccoli, because everyone laughed about that. That was a couple of years ago, whatever. And I mean,
because he doesn't know that broccoli is a recent thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's like, is Kent Hovind a paid actor too? I don't know.
Honestly, I could believe. The people he's going to accuse, Ray Comfort, I could also believe. Kent's much more likely, though.
I think he's just dumb. I think Ray Comfort is just stupid.
He's just so dumb.
I'd be inclined
to
agree.
Yeah, but he's also a grifter, but he's a more dumb and more honest and less malicious and overtly criminal grifter than Kent, which is saying very little. Very little.
They're all actors, and they're satanic trannies.
Satanic trannies?
Evolution is there to make you think you're a monkey. Well, why is there a human finger right there? It's because this is a suit. It's a fursuit.
Wait.
This is a fursuit.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not catch that?
The human finger?
Wait.
Evolution is there to make you think you're a monkey. Well, why is there a human finger right there? It's because this is a suit.
Are we talking about that fruit that's in his hand?
Why is there a human finger right there somewhere in the screen?
No.
Yeah.
Fursuit. This is a monkey. Well, why is there a human finger right there? It's because this is a suit. It's a fursuit.
Come on.
It's a suit. It's a fursuit. Okay. Look at it. It's clearly a fursuit.
This is a fursuit. Why do they always have so many nice photos of these alleged endangered wild animals?
In a goddamn zoo.
I don't know how he doesn't recognize that this right here is the product of a chainsaw. You don't... And also, there's a rope. Sorry, I forgot. I didn't see the rope. There's a rope. Is this an orangutan?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's orangutan.
Can orangutans make ropes?
I don't think so. I don't believe
Certainly
so.
not this kind of rope, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe they can make ropes. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. But
Oh,
You can go
yeah.
find
Sorry,
some.
guys. Jackson, before I sent him this video, was not familiar with Hans Wormhat. So um, this is his introduction to the fursuits.
This is what I was talking right before we came on with, like, where do you draw the line between, like, arguing with people who you think are, you can try to do, like, the mental calculus of, like, okay, are they a grifter? Are they worth my time in that regard? Then you get to a point like this where you also have to wonder, like, are they just mentally ill? And is doing this just making fun of someone who's mentally ill? Like, that's another part of
it
like
is a
the
thing.
mental calculus. So
it is.
I'm not convinced.
I don't. Yeah, I think he's just willfully.
He's like the birds are
Real. Birds aren't real.
Birds
The
aren't real guy.
guy.
Yeah, like what are birds? Like the robots?
Like, though, the argument I would make is I'm a person that lives with mental health conditions. I'm currently being treated psychiatric, like, with medication for 3 different conditions. They're not like weird. They're not uncommon conditions. It's major depressive disorder, anxiety, and ADHD. But those are nonetheless mental health conditions. That it's a spectrum,
Right, sure.
I don't think that he is suffering from an acute psychosis where he is unable to recognize the reality of, like, what is in the room with him. He builds this interpretation framework on it. Also, I don't know why I'm the one saying this, because I'm not the one with any psychological training. So
I don't think okay, so when we're talking about people who propagate science misinformation, I would put him on par with the rest of them. So
yeah,
if we were to exclude Hans, we'd have to exclude all the other idiots propagating science misinformation on the internet. Now, there are some people out there that I've been vocal about, even with I don't know. There's a lot of people that aren't gonna. There's a lot of people here that probably will and won't know who I'm talking about. I actually, I don't know if Holy Spackle is still here, but I said this to her, and I said this to Dragnaut Silvis. Like Shani and Rev, like, I really believe that Shani was mentally ill and that they should not be making fun of her, that she needed mental help. I think that people like G-Man need mental help.
G-Man, yeah.
Howard.
So, like, I think they're off the table. Hans, I really put him in the category of any other flat earther, honestly. And I think he's just kind of found his niche. I'm not convinced that he should be taken off the table yet. And the moment I will apologize. I'll take all the videos down, and I will. You have my word on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So many studio quality photos of orangutans, and it's because they're studio photos and they're fursuits.
I mean,
that's what it looks like.
They probably are studio photos. Like studio in what sense?
Studio quality. They're not in a
studio quality. Right.
Yeah, because most of them are not in a studio. Occasionally, yes.
Sure.
But
right, like professional photographers go to zoos and take pictures of the animals. Like, that's just a thing that happens.
Yeah. Cause I mean, what do you mean why? Like, it's self-explanatory. Animals are cool. Look at this thing. It's amazing.
I think it's beautiful, honestly.
We have a professional photographer who comes to the aquarium and takes pictures of our animals.
Right,
and we post them on our Facebook page. Like, that's just a thing we do. That happens. The studio is a zoo. Exactly right. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have we have lots of events where we have professional photographers come out and take pictures of people having a good time or interacting with the animals. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a new one.
I'm going to end with this clip. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
No,
These were all the smartest scientists on the planet. Only problem is they kept being wrong. Sometimes.
no, that was a
This is
parody
insane, you
on
fool.
people like you. What do you?
Right?
That was a
He
parody.
doesn't even get it.
I mean,
He thinks it's an own of the people of rational thinkers.
No, this is like reading an Onion article and being like, yeah, they're totally on my side on this one. Like, no.
I feel like
No.
we can give this another 15 seconds, and then we probably got to cut it off because copyright. But
I don't even know if it go 15 seconds. I don't know how he kept it up. But I mean, I think
because I have more
most
faith in the saints that wrote the Bible.
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
All right.
and that
all right,
that's a
we're
great
done.
place to stop. That's a great place to stop.
Oh God.
Yeah, and wait, isn't Almost Sunny where he got his name from, his original name from? Where am I wrong?
Oh, did he?
Hans Wormhat.
That's
I don't
pretty
know.
funny.
I'm not. I haven't watched enough Always Sunny to know.
I haven't seen it in a while, man. I mean, it's been like quite a few years since I watched Almost Sunny. It was a great show. Fern, thank you for $2 for a coffee cup that just says tired. But I do love coffee cups with coffee, filled with coffee, preferably.
Mine had sweet tea in it.
Yeah, may the 4th be with you.
But beware the revenge of the 5th.
and 6th, right? Or 6th? 6th.
Argumentative
Star Wars
Always
pun.
Sunny. I love it.
But yeah, that was Hans, and that was Hans.
The fursuit argument that really took me aback. I don't know. I feel like I get more brain rot every year that I'm on the internet. A recent thing that really gave me brain rot was the Baltimore boat that crashed into the bridge, and a bunch of people were like screaming that it was they were destroying the bridge so that like boats could get in and attack the harbor or something like that. And it's like, for one thing, the boat called the city in advance. It called they sent a message to the Baltimore police or Coast Guard or whatever you want to call them, and they're like, "Hey, we're having lots of problems with our ship. Like, you need to clear everyone off the bridge." So they did, and so the only people who went missing and presumed dead following the crash were like people who had cleared everyone else off the bridge, right? So it's like, well, that conspiracy can't hold up then unless you want to argue that the goal was like not to kill anyone at all, and then of course nothing happened after, or everything with like the COVID conspiracies with everyone who says the vaccines are going to kill everyone by this date. They sound exactly like the street preachers who are like, yes, the world's going to end on October 8th. Yeah, we're all going to be raptured, and like it doesn't happen. Then they go, oh, I misread the Bible. It actually meant December 12th, whatever.
It's actually going to be the eclipse.
And that's how the Jehovah's Witnesses started.
Yeah, the eclipse, that was a recent one.
Yes.
Oh, is this significant for the end times, whatever? No, it's not, because the end times aren't real. You got stood up by Jesus. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, we did one a couple of weeks ago, just like the day before the eclipse, just kind of summing up. It wasn't even, I can't even say it was all of them. It was a lot of them, but there's just so many. And then there were preachers coming out. It's like, okay, the eclipse is foreshadowing the actual rapture, it's not going to be on the eclipse. It's going to be a couple weeks out, which buys them time to get their followers to forget about all of it,
Oh, yeah.
because,
There's a really good book by Sean Otto. It's titled "The War on Science." I can't recommend it enough. It's a fantastic book. If you like history of science, then he argues, about or he argues he talks about like creationism and climate change denialism and anti-vaxxers and all that sort of stuff. So he goes over all those. It's a phenomenal book. One of the best like narratives of the history of science I've ever read. And when you kind of put the pieces together of how we got where we are today, where it's every single day is a new conspiracy, and it's got a bullhorn and can be screamed to the masses, which I do know. Like, you also have to take a step back and be like, okay, how many people are actually seeing this? When a clip when someone on Twitter is screaming some conspiracy theory and we all see it and we argue with them, whatever, like, how many real normal people are actually going to interact with this? Not very many. Like, let's be honest, it's usually not very many people.
Yeah.
There's some of the more yeah, people are aware of creationism, people are aware of climate change denial, people are aware of anti-vaxxers, like the kind of big like overarching conspiracies. There's a pedigree of these, and people are aware of it. But the more kind of like nitty, like flat Earth stuff, is probably not a general population issue. At least I don't think it is. I don't know any flat earthers.
God, I hope not.
Like the
are
crazier
they
stuff,
still
like
gaining traction though? I heard that
Are
they
they?
were growing as a flat earthers were growing as a demographic.
They're growing across the globe.
And
I don't know, maybe. But
not.
like the Baltimore conspiracy,
Right.
like there's just I think most normal people either aren't aware of these things or they really don't care. They just kind of see it and they just filter it out. But like it's really, we're in a very like bleak place in terms of I think in terms of like science communication, just because of how easy it is to spread misinformation. And I really go back and forth about like, well, what do we do about it? And I don't know, it takes me to dark places sometimes.
It does. And I know part of me is like, okay, I do want to take this lightheartedly. I don't want to be too serious about it. I don't want to be like, this is on par with normal science. So we laugh about it, right? But I also don't want to just let it go by. When I was thinking about what to do with my channel, I really wanted to do something that lent to critical thinking. And it's like, okay, we have all this misinformation out here. I could probably do a way better job, considering that I have a master's in psychology, which is pretty much a research degree. And, I'm sitting here with a PhD physicist. We know a lot about how to actually research and look for credible sources. But I also know my audience. And when I'm thinking about people who are prone to misinformation, I kind of want to bring them over, if possible, and be like, hey, this is a different way of thinking about this. And that's kind of what I did with myself. So when I kind of got shocked out of Christianity, and it was like a breaking of cognitive dissonance, just like because it happened so quickly, and which threw me into the woo community, because I wanted to know, what else am I not being told about? Like, what it felt like, is the sky even blue? And what helped me was seeing the debates. There's, whether it was like a flat earth or hollow earth or hollow moon, or
Hollow moon,
the one thing was like the asteroid belt used to be a planet that was and there's actual people that live there, and then they got too big, and then they they had nuclear weapons and ended up blowing the planet apart.
Mm.
And that's why you see the Great Bombardment. That's what that actually was. And it, oh my God, just so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what helped me was seeing people, like both sides. It's like somebody talking about it and somebody saying no. And when you get to see the science versus the nonsense, you get to see, oh, they're coming with facts and they're just talking. And that, I don't know. So that, I don't know, that's kind of like how, what I
Here.
was thinking when I started to do this channel. It's just like, you need to counter the nonsense with actual information. And some of it, there's just nothing to actually say. It's just, you just laugh at it. And like, rational people don't think like this. Moving on,
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I think, like, on the one hand, I do recognize that the best thing the only thing you can really do, is you can have conversations with people, you can talk to them, show them resources and stuff. And it's like, and the hope is that we'll filter out nonsense,
Right.
right?
And it's
That's
going to
the
take a
hope.
bunch of different ways.
Mhm.
It's going to take a bunch of different ways from a bunch of different people. And this is our way.
Yeah, no, and that's yeah, that's absolutely valid. I mean, I do the same thing, right? I have a YouTube channel and I make videos and stuff. At the same time, like, it just, I don't know, it gets me down because when you look at like what we're up against like, multi-million dollar corporations or multi-billion dollar corporations in the case of climate change that are like attempting to suppress data, and
Yeah.
they have the resources to buy off entire news networks, and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the kind of stuff that makes you feel like, oh, this is really bleak. But at the same time, if you actually look at like the issues, like I mean, you could look, for instance, as a test case, look at cigarettes and their relation to carcinogenesis, right? So cigarettes, or so researchers were already kind of starting to like piece together that cigarettes, or tobacco, I should say, had something to do with carcinogenesis as early as like the early 1900s. It wasn't until around 1950 that finally large scale studies were starting to come in and show, hey, there really looks like both correlation and causation here. Um, and then the tobacco industry, of course, hit back and they had their whole PR campaigns, but eventually they lost, right?
Right.
They lost. They were defeated by scientists. They were defeated by these groups of scientists who put their research out there, and the tobacco industry did their best to try to suppress it, but ultimately it didn't work. And
Right.
I hope certainly that that's going to happen with climate change, because I know very few people who think humans have no impact on climate change. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost everyone
Which is
seems.
a little odd. If you're gonna have a position that isn't the mainstream position, to me the most obvious position that makes sense is that we don't have an impact because the planet is too big. Like, that's wrong, but like the planet is the biggest thing that any of us have any usual exposure to, other than like the sun, which is real far away and doesn't count.
Right. And if you look at, like, as I'm looking at like charts of percentages right now, over time, like the number of people who acknowledge that humans are affecting the climate has gone up. The same is true of evolution. Like,
Hmm.
these things do have an upward trajectory over time, so that does give me some modicum of hope. But like, it's hard, It's, we do what we can. We put out our videos, we do debates and everything, but like, it's
I
hard.
mean,
So.
it is, and the people peddling misinformation are always going to get the more views,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean that us being here is all for nothing. And we're all growing, and
Mhm.
um, the goal is to get as many people educated as possible. And
Mhm.
I say to everybody, it's going to take it's gonna look a bunch of different ways. It's gonna take a bunch of different people, and it's gonna take people hearing the same thing more than once to before they start thinking differently. So, um, yeah, I mean, I want to be here. I want to entertain. But I am committed to people thinking logically. you know, we had for Doc's birthday, we had a creationist one, and
Peter Brum. Yeah, you know him.
Peter, friend of the show, yeah,
Paleologos.
Paleologos, yeah, I like
yeah.
him. Yeah.
I was trying not to grill him much. Actually, Doc did a really good job of grilling him throughout the show, and
I
I was
grilled him a
just
lot
like,
more than I did.
yeah, I was like, I heard about this creationist thing. What's that about? And my thing is just like, know what you believe and why. If there's a heaven, you're not getting into it on your pastor's faith. Why do you believe this? He gave me
That's
answers. I mean, I could have pushed a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Could have pushed a lot harder.
they weren't
But it was
convincing
just
answers to us. Like
no,
we're
no.
not. Neither of us
But
are younger creationists.
he thought it through, and I was impressed with that much because
I wish for nothing more than the incredibly tall ask of everybody giving it as much thought as Peter does.
yeah, yeah. And he, you know what, he's really thoughtful. I know that
But he's
Tapioca Weasel is really concerned about him, but I'm like, no. I think I think at the time a freshman, and I'm like, you know what, he's going to be an older creationist at the very least by the time he graduates.
I think that's probably I mean, like, so Dapper and I, we did a stream where we grilled him on all
that
that.
was before ours, yeah.
Yeah, and I find it very hard to believe that he'll stay Young Earth Creationist. Although he works with Todd Wood, and Todd Wood is famous for that post where he said, there's gobs and gobs of evidence for evolution. So it's entirely possible he'll just compartmentalize that and go, yeah, okay, well, that's one way you can think about it, but I choose not to. So, it's like, that's at least an honest way to do it, I guess. It's
I agree. Or at least a more honest way.
It is a more honest way,
it's which I think is really important because when you get into the trap of demanding that everybody treat epistemology exactly the way that you do, it becomes very problematic. And I think that's the trap that scientists sometimes fall into, but most of them really don't. Most of them really understand that, like, history is not a scientific field in the same way that physics or biology or chemistry or psychology are. Like, these are things you can't as easily you could do long-term experiments in history, but frankly those would be experiments in psychology that would then be applied to history.
Okay.
Right? Because they would be things like studies of how new religious beliefs such as the cargo cults and whatnot, how those formed. Those are, I think, more from the perspective of, like, what is a science. Those are psychological case studies. They're not experiments because that would be unethical, I think. I'm pretty sure that just like giving a whole bunch of people false evidence for something to be like, are you going to form a religious belief on that? I think that would be unethical. But they're case studies, and case studies are still scientific because guess what? There's not a difference between observational science and historical science. It's
I just came up with a new hot take based on what you said, and it's this: history is just applied psychology. There we go.
I mean, it's applied psychology with all of the benefits that you also get from things like linguistics and um, archaeology and
You can agree with the guest. It's okay.
yes, I always agree with all of our guests because I know what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Oh my God. All right. So for $10, native atheist, hippo character with a pink hat flips it backwards and raises his thumb up in the air. That's an interesting. It's a super sticker. Interesting way they characterize it. But thank you, native. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you much.
I didn't realize.
So Jackson, first time here. So we do the who are you, where are you, and what do you have coming up this week? Who are you is your name. Where are you is where can people find you? If they want to see more of your lovely face, this is what you look like. And what do you have coming up this week, next week, or this month?
Well, yes, in theory, RJ and I will eventually finish Volume 2 of The Rocks Are There. That won't be next week, however. I need sleep. So what am I working on? Well, I'm supposed to be working on, or whenever I get to it, will be the next video in the Ancestors Tale series, which will be the Brine Shrimp's Tale. The problem is I've been preparing for my class that I'll be teaching at the end of this, or starting at the end of this month. And so that's taken all of my time recently, and I've put zero effort or energy towards making new videos for the past, I don't know, it's been like a month or so now. It's been a long time.
Me too.
So eventually I'll get around to making that video. You can also find me on Twitter. That's really where I typically am. That is the easiest place to find me. Yeah, I know it's a terrible place.
Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, thanks, Elon. Yeah, it's awful. It really has lost so many of the It used to be full of so many fun posts, and I remember when one company used to make a post that was like, "Hey, other corporate accounts, why don't you guys jump in on this?" And then they would all post, something funny, but that doesn't happen anymore because all the companies are gone because Elon retweets Nazi stuff. So it just doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, I'm on Twitter, YouTube. I actually had one person who's a fan of the channel approach me in public, which I thought was very funny.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty whack. I normally do Thursday streams, but not this upcoming Thursday.
No, I mean, well, certainly, you gotta get your stuff together, pay the bills, all that fun stuff.
It's true. I do miss the Wendy's tweets.
Oh my God, they're not doing that anymore.
They all jumped ship. Everybody jumped ship. McDonald's, Wendy's, Disney. They all were like, "All right, peace out. We're not staying."
No, you know what? Oh,
No.
yeah, Wendy's was. I really liked Wendy's. But the oh my God, what was it? Oh yeah, I used to reach out to everybody through Twitter. And then slowly but surely everybody was like, yeah, fuck this place. So now almost everybody's on Discord. So,
Yeah, it has gained like a critical mass. I'm technically on Discord. I very rarely use it.
Technically. I tried to reach out to you on Discord and you were like a month later, like, oh shit, people are
My
over
bad.
here. I forgot.
Sorry about that. That was all on me.
No, it's
I'm on Blue Sky
fine.
too.
We're pretty happy you're here.
I check Blue Sky once a week, just because maybe it's the brain rot, but opening an app where no one's fighting, everyone's just kind of posting things they like, and no one's fighting. I was like, this feels too much like Facebook. I don't like it.
Right. I don't feel safe.
Yeah,
it's like the Twitter PTSD, right?
Yeah, it's like opening, because I'll open Twitter and I'll see like within
All of
5 minutes
your
of
threads.
scrolling, I'll find like 10 rage bait tweets, and I'm like, ah, yes, this is what I like to see. I like to feel my blood boiling, and my like cortisol levels raising. But no, I mean, it's just I'm very bad about like checking. I guess I like hyperfixate on like one particular social media app, and then everything else I'm just kind of like, I don't really check it unless I have to.
No,
Um,
I miss that about Twitter because now it's like I have to check like five different things to get a hold of people. And it
mhm,
used to only be Twitter. It was really good for that.
yes.
I still do go into Twitter a couple of times a week to check my like I like watching like when I have time to read the news, all my news stories. Like I made a feed
Hmm.
of like all the places that I actively follow. So it's
Hmm.
like it's none of the I have my Twitter feed for like my friends and what are they posting about. So Hiveside, you can still find her on there. She's great posts.
Hmm.
And there's some other people that still do have really good posts on there. But if I just want to like read the news, like who's saying what, then it allows you to make. It's the only place I know of that allows you to like create your own.
Like topical feed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's really good for that. So if I just want to see the latest news, like all of the news sites, so whether it's like MSNBC or oh god, I can't think. It's late.
Or like
They,
CNN or whatever.
no,
Yeah.
I don't do CNN anymore. But
AP,
there, oh, I'm thinking of the Union one. What the fuck
AP
is
and
it called?
Reuters are the first two I would go to.
I
Yeah, I
got
have
you.
AP, I have Reuters, I have a lot of progressive news sites
But
too.
I get what you're
They're
saying.
still
Yeah.
posting on there.
Hmm.
So I can have all of those. Like as soon as they post an article, it's right there, right, one
Hmm.
after the
Yeah.
other. And it's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah.
That is super cool. Yeah, I agree. I used to, so I follow or have followed a lot of like different scientists because
Perfect Union. God damn it.
Twitter
Sorry.
used to
Go
be
ahead.
the place where I got like a lot of science news.
Hmm.
And there are
Hmm.
so few scientists on there nowadays because they're
Yeah.
all like, yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, I used
Yeah.
to get all kinds of cool papers. It was always like, I mean, I get updates from like science, but aside from science, like via Twitter, it's just it's not as many anymore. It's very um it's a lot quieter. My feed is a lot quieter,
Yeah.
and I think Elon must have realized that because I see a lot more varied. It got really quiet for like a few weeks, and then suddenly it's like very highly varied tweets. Like suddenly, if you like one person's tweet, you see 10 of their tweets in your feed, and it's like, okay, cool, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand why they would do that, but like it just yeah, for a couple weeks right after Elon took over, I was like, wow, everyone is gone.
It yeah, it probably took a couple of months for me. But it's very different than it used to be, that's for sure. I mean, I do
Yeah.
have what is it, the Facebook threads, which most of the people are still on, but it's not.
Mm.
I don't know. It's not the same.
Yeah, I feel that. I again, I technically have a Facebook account. I don't really use it. I have like a handful of friends who I talk to on Messenger.
Yeah.
One of whom was I don't know if you guys know how creationism taught me real science. Tony Reed's channel.
Mm-mm. I have to subscribe to that. Thank you.
How creationism taught me real science. Fantastic channel. I miss him a lot.
Interesting.
He hasn't made a YouTube video in a year. I think a few years at this point. But it's basically the first. So the first like what 2 minutes of the video, he'll like steel man the creationist position, and then he'll do his little intro. Then he'll spend the rest of the video explaining how it's wrong. Um, Yeah, Tony's awesome. I love him so much. He's a really cool guy. If you reached out to him, you could probably get him on. He's super cool, dude. Um, he basically like his whole channel is kind of like going through all of like every argument Kent Hovind's like ever made, just like, one by one by one. It's really good, very very well researched. And one of the things he does that I really like is he actually was the one who informed me about Pelagia. So I watched
Really?
Tony Reed's videos. Then he does a thing at the end of each like season where he does like errata. So errata, and then he suggests a few channels, and he mentioned Pelagia. So I went over, watched Pelagia, and then I reached out to Pelagia, and then Paul put me in touch with RJ, and now we have a book together. So
That's super cool. All right, I'll check it out. Thank you, Pragmatic Crystal, for providing the link in the chat. Crystal's awesome. All right. All right. Well, it's getting late. I do thank you so much for bowing to peer pressure and coming on our really tiny debauchery laden channel.
Oh my goodness! I thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. I'm happy to come on again.
Awesome. And next time you're live, we will be there. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to Bad Science Sunday. We'll be back next week. So bye.